Hello everybody. Hello YouTube. Hello art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss M, and I'm back with yet another video. Today, or tonight, or whenever you're watching this, what I'm gonna do now in this video is I'm gonna finally do what I've been wanting to do for some time. I just didn't know how to do it, or how to get started, how to kind of kick my own ass and just get into it. I'm gonna do my second installment of Unraveling the Mystery, Twin Peaks. This time it's gonna be season 1, episode 2. So we shall see. What happened was, and I think I said something about it in this video, a painting, the one I did about Hannah Hoch, cut with the kitchen knife. My equipment was being a jerk. And I don't know what happened, but I think I fixed it, because I did this video and everything went fine with this video, the Hannah Hoch video. So let's try to do this again. Last night I spent a good amount of time doing the Twin Peaks video, and then I uploaded it and I tried to listen to it, and it sounded like a demonic blur. It didn't pick up my voice at all. It was just hideous, just hideous. But here I am again, trying again. I will not be deterred. So well, before we get into it, let me do my little church announcements. Returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. And subscribers, all 525 of you. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate it very, very much. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you know somebody who might enjoy my particular brand of nonsense. And that's that. That's it for the church announcements. Yeah, so let's get into it. We're doing Twin Peaks Season 1, Episode 2, and here is the intro of the show, right, with the sawmill and the etc., and the Welcome to Twin Peaks sign, population 51,201, okay, and then there's this waterfall. I told you this is Uranus's sperm. I don't care what you think. Well, actually, I kind of do. I mean, tell me if you don't agree with me, but I mean, I've decided. This is Saturn, this is Uranus, this is, Saturn usurping his father Uranus by castrating him. And then the white material that flowed from his freshly cut testicles, that is where the goddess Venus comes from, and that has to do with water. Venus rides onto shore on a wave, lots and lots of sea foam. Again, that's Uranus's sperm. She rides onto the shore on a scallop shell. That's where she comes from. Venus is trouble. Okay, Venus, I know everybody thinks she's like real exciting and whatnot. She just causes trouble. I mean, even if you look at the mythology, Venus, she's just like that girl that you might have known growing up that just loved causing problems. And even when she was like trying to do something nice for people, it was a mess. It turned out to be a damn mess. So that's Laura Palmer. Okay. In Twin Peaks, that is Laura. And I said in one of these videos, one of these recent videos, I don't know which one it was, and it kind of doesn't even matter. But if you heard it, you heard it. I'm kind of wondering about Laura Palmer. As a victim of this murder in this show, I feel for her. I feel bad for her. And knowing, because of course I read all the spoilers, knowing like what kind of life she led and what was going on with her and her family and her father and the whole thing. Of course you feel bad for her. You feel bad for the character. But there's also something about her that just isn't sitting right with me. Something about her personality, something about her character that I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Yes, I feel badly for her because she's a victim, but something isn't right. and I can't quite put my finger on it. She's just too, what we do see of her, like in this episode in particular, when we see like flashbacks of when she was alive and talking to people, she was just too nice. She was too sweet. She was too charming. She was just too much of everything. And, I'll show you that part. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do slides. I'm just going to red ball through this video. And we'll see where this goes. Now, again, there's that water. And at the end of this, and I probably won't be able to show it to you because just the nature of the way I'm doing this. At the end of this intro to the show, the opening sequence with all the credits and all the names of the actors and whatever. So we start off with the bird, and then we go to the sawmill, watch the blades get sharpened, and then we see that log, and then we see the Welcome to Twin Peaks sign, and then we see the waterfall that's coming from the river, and the river's right next to the Great Northern Hotel, and then the waterfall drains down into, I guess, the continuation of that river, and you see a couple of sitting ducks. Like I said, they're just kind of floating on the water. There's a lot of bird imagery in this episode. You'll see it. You'll see it actually, shortly. So again, I don't know how long this video is going to take me. But there it is. There's the Great Northern Hotel. This is actually a real place. This building really does exist somewhere in Washington State in real life. I don't know if it's a hotel or not, but there it is. And there's this waterfall and the whole thing, and looks like there's some snow here that's, I guess, in the process of melting. But whatever. So the first thing we encounter is Agent Cooper's bedroom in the Great Northern Hotel. He's been put up there. Sheriff Harry Truman called who he had to call or whatever to get Dale Cooper a room here where he can stay during his investigation of this murder of Laura Palmer. And the first thing we see in this episode, after that waterfall from the intro, from the opening sequence, is his nightstand. And then here's his, I assume this gun, or this type of gun, is a revolver. I don't know anything about firearms, so correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I welcome that. Educate me. And there's this round of bullets. So his gun, I guess, is not loaded. There it is. And then there's two clocks. There's the clock that's the part of this lamp. And then there's this travel clock that people used to carry with them when they traveled, like, take with them so they could, I guess, know what time it was when they were staying in a hotel or sleeping somewhere or what have you. Now with cell phones, we really don't need those anymore. There's his badge, and it's on top of a hardcover book. And you all, if you have better eyesight than I do, check out the book. I think this is a copy of Charles Dickens's Great Expectations. You correct me if I'm wrong. And I mean, we all kind of know the story with Great Expectations. And if you don't know the story, just go ahead and watch that episode of South Park. It's pretty good. They did a pretty good job. And there's this lamp, and there's a clock on the lamp. And I'm thinking the long arm of this, the minute hand of this clock is down near this half-hour mark. And the short hand, if I'm not mistaken, it's a little bit after 3. It's like 3:30 in the morning. Okay. So Agent Cooper gets his ass up out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, that's a dedicated dude. But anyway, as I said in the prior episode, episode 1, look at all this wood. Look at all this wood paneling in this room. The bedposts, this bed, and the frame of the bed, or the bed made out of logs. There's like way too much wood in this hotel and in this town as decor. Look at this. Look at, like, did Paul Bunyan make it? They're also above his bed, on the wall above the headboard of his bed, there's a gun rack, and there's this old looking rifle. Is this a blunderbuss or something like that? And the gun rack, these things that are holding the gun up are hooves. from some poor animal that got murdered by somebody, and there it is. And I mean, I don't know what kind of animal these hooves belong to. Is it a deer? Is it a I I can't think right now. A moose, something like that, like some animal that has hooves. I doubt that it's a horse. Maybe it's a pig. I don't, or a wild boar. I have no idea, but there it is. There's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this. It's, of course, it reminds you of death, and not just death of this animal that these hooves belong to, but like this instrument of death that probably killed the animal, the rifle itself. What the hell? What in the world is going on? So yes, we see this gun, or it looks like an old-timey kind of gun. I don't know guns, so I don't know what kind of gun. And this, I want you to, oh, no, I want you to see, I want you to pay special attention to this. See the sconce? And I know I can't make the thing move because I would get a goddamn copyright strike if I did. I'm even like risking it doing it this way. But this sconce over here, there, it does have a second light bulb there, with the candle-shaped thing with the flame-shaped light bulb. That's directly from Stanley. That's directly from Stanley in The Shining and in 2001, A Space Odyssey. Possibly also, if when I finally like take a better look at it, Barry Lyndon. Maybe also in what's that other one? I doubt it's in Full Metal Jacket, but I could be wrong. But maybe Eyes Wide Shut, Barry Lyndon. Definitely I know it's in 2001 and in The Shining. So, him and Stanley are communicating with each other visually. Anyway, they're moving through the room, and look at this other nightstand on the other side of the bed. Dead birds. Dead taxidermied birds. Is Dale Cooper, is Agent Cooper a sitting duck? There's another, this gaudy, horrible painting with these like 3D looking birds. More birds. I think these are ducks. Birds, ducks, dead birds, those hooves, the gun rack. What the hell? His badge, his FBI badge, resting on top of a copy of Great Expectations. Like, what the hell? All that wood. Lord, Lord, Lord. So here we go. More wood. Wood everywhere. Just everywhere. And here comes the dead fish. Oh, Pete Martell. He's the fisherman. He's the one who found Laura Palmer. Oh, Lord. This could mean all kinds of things. I think that this is pointing to the fact that Dale Cooper himself is going to become a victim of something, that he's not impervious to the influence of whatever evil shit is going on in Twin Peaks. And here are his ankles and his feet. He is hanging from something. He's got these things on his ankles for hanging upside down. He's wearing socks with these, what are they called? Garters. I mean, do men really wear socks like that anymore, or did they at the time? I don't know. I just don't know. But he's hanging upside down in front of the doorway of this room that he's staying in. I gotta say, Kyle MacLachlan has really gorgeous legs. And that's another thing, and you'll see it in a minute. David Lynch picked. I know that he's like friends with Kyle MacLachlan, like probably ever since Dune. But Kyle MacLachlan is an extremely handsome man. He's for the whoever's into men who's watching this show, like he's a really nice piece of eye candy. I've got to say. I hope I don't sound like crude saying that, but the reason I'm mentioning it is because, I read somewhere that basically the Agent Cooper character is a representation of David Lynch himself in this show. So he sure picked a really good-looking guy to play him, or the representation of himself in this show. It's like, well, David Lynch is the director, and we've all had that conversation with our friends, like, if a movie was being made about your life, who would you want to play you? I guess David Lynch made his choice. Gorgeous, handsome, charming, beautiful Kyle MacLachlan. Of course. Who else? And there he is hanging upside down. And in that video that didn't take last night, I said this reminds me so much of Grandpa Munster on the Munsters. And if you remember Grandpa Munster, that's how he would sleep or just hang out in the house, hanging upside down. You know, doing whatever. I don't know. I guess he's a vampire, and he would be able to, or is it him or his friend Igor was the vampire bat? But this reminds me of both vampire bats, the way they kind of sleep hanging upside down, and Grandpa Munster. Does this tell us that Agent Cooper is going to possibly join the ranks of the undead at some point in this show? I don't know. Is this foreshadowing of some kind? But whatever. Here he is, and plus all of the dead birds and the fish and the hooves and whatever. So those animals are dead. They've been killed, and in the case of the birds and the fish, like taxidermied and mounted and everything. But even though they're dead, they're still there. Their form, their bodies are still there. Is that what's going to happen to Agent Cooper? So here he is hanging upside down. I don't know why people do this. Is this to help with your circulation? Is like what's going on? This is a young man. I don't know why he's so concerned about his circulation. But here he is hanging upside down. He does this real quick move that I would not be able to do because I don't have any upper body strength. Because I'm a girl. But he does this really swift move, and he turns himself right side up, unhooks the things that he's hanging from, the things on his ankles, his shins or whatever, and he pops down off of this pipe. Like I said, he's a good-looking man. And this pipe is making me wonder. I even talked about it a little bit with Tankard in the DM. You know, I think I've said this in my prior videos, my Shining videos. Stanley is using, in my opinion, Stanley is putting all those radiators all over the Overlook Hotel in The Shining because he's taken a page out of David Lynch's book with regard to Eraserhead, the lady in the radiator in Henry Spencer's bedroom in the Eraserhead movie. So you get all these radiators all over the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, and those radiators need pipes in order to function. That's how radiators work. I explained it in one of my videos. Radiators work by having like a central boiler in the building, and that boiler has pipes that are connected to all the radiators in that building or in that part of the building or whatever, and the boiler delivers hot water through those pipes to the radiator, and the hot water courses through the coils of the radiator. That's how the radiator gets hot and radiates heat that in turn warms the room where that radiator is located. Okay, now you know. And then we got this pipe just running through this part of this room, like, and he's hanging upside down from it. So we don't see a radiator, but we see evidence of a possible radiator system in this hotel. I'm going to be on the lookout, or hopefully I'll try to be on the lookout for those radiators. I can't do this the way I do The Shining or Eraserhead or Kill Bill or whatever, because this is a TV show with episodes. For the first two seasons, a total of 30 of them. So I cannot do frame by frame analysis. Just no, absolutely not. But I'll do my best, and I promise you that I'll give it my all. So here he is. Now he's right side up, and he's doing his little recorded messages to his, I assume, secretary Diane. And he's talking about the hotel, and he's talking about the water pressure in the bathroom, and all this stuff. He's a colossal nerd, this man. He is just a terrific nerd, a very handsome nerd. No glasses, okay, but still a nerd. Who cares about the water pressure? Who gives a shit about that kind of stuff? This guy, this nerd. And then at the very tail end of his message that he's recording to Diane, and I don't know how he gets these to her. Like, does he just, when he runs out of tape, does he just take the tape out of the recorder and then put it in an envelope and mail it to her? To, the headquarters in is it Philadelphia? Pennsylvania? Yeah, that's where the FBI headquarters is located for Agent Cooper in this show. Philadelphia. I'm pretty sure it's Philadelphia. I don't know. And that also, I think, has a connection to David Lynch and his actual life. I think he really did spend time in Philadelphia when he was younger, or lived there. I'm not sure. But so Dale Cooper is talking to Diane about the water pressure and the accommodations and the whole thing. And he's like, the real test is going to be that first cup of coffee. Lord. And then he says at the very tail end of this, he says to her something like, this is on a personal note. I'm not saying this as an agent of the Bureau, just this is, him personally wanting to know. He's been wondering. He's been turning this over and over and over in his head. He wants to know what the real nature of the relationship between Marilyn Monroe and JFK was. And he wants to know who really pulled the trigger and killed JFK on that fateful day in November 1963. Like, dude, David Lynch just busted out like one of the granddaddies of conspiracy theories. Everybody, like, that's how, if people get into conspiracy theories, that's probably how they get started, researching the JFK assassination or researching the relationship between JFK and Marilyn Monroe, and then Marilyn Monroe's death and whatever. What in the world is going on? What in the world is David Lynch trying to do? I don't know. But I'm going to keep trying to figure it out. You best believe. So we're going to move on here. Here he is telling Diane about, his curiosity regarding that historical event. Okay. And then, yeah, he picked a really good-looking man to play himself, David Lynch. My God. Anyway, moving on. There he is in the dining room of the Great Northern Hotel. And y'all remember, yes, I'm going to keep mentioning The Shining because that's my obsession, for better or for worse. But remember how I said, like, in the Overlook Hotel, there's no room there other than the Gold Room, which I do not count as a dining room. That's more of like a nightclub within the hotel, or a ballroom, or just a party room. There is no room that we have yet to see in the Overlook Hotel in The Shining where you can just sit down and have a meal. There is no dining room in the Overlook Hotel. That is very suspicious. Anyway, here's at the Great Northern Hotel. There is a room for people to just sit down, have their breakfast, whatever, and Dale Cooper is sitting there. I'm also curious about this little button on his shirt. What the hell is that? I have no idea, and I don't even know like where I would start looking into what that might be. But again, here he is, waiting, getting his coffee poured, okay, and then the waitress just poured his coffee, and he says, wait, and then he takes his first sip of coffee, and he seems to be very pleased with the coffee. And this is where that famous line that is so often repeated from the show comes from. And he says, this is a damn fine cup of coffee. This is where a damn fine cup of coffee comes from this scene particularly. And I love this little coffee cup. I know it's basic. It's just a little white ceramic coffee cup, but it's so cute. Adorable. Anyway, never mind all that. So here we are. He loves his coffee. He's a damn fine cup of coffee. Yes, sirree. And here we go. And there's the lady. And then she, again, I can't get over how handsome he is. I mean, I remember watching this as a child, but I don't remember, like, really caring about his looks. But now as a grown-up woman, yeah, he's cute. I just thought of that, like, recently. Like, wow, Kyle MacLachlan is very, very good looking. Interesting. Now, he's ordering his breakfast in this scene. Look at all the wood paneling. Again, you're not going to get away from the wood in this movie. If it's not part of the building or part of the decor, it's outside in nature. It's the forest, it's the trees. For goodness sake, this is a logging town. Of course there's trees everywhere and wood everywhere. But here he is ordering his breakfast, and he says, "Get me 2 eggs over hard," which is something I've never heard in my life before this show. I've heard of over easy, I've heard of sunny side up, I've heard of is it basted eggs? I think, yeah, I've heard of that. Scrambled, of course, omelets, of course, but never over hard. And I just imagine that's just like cooking the eggs until the yolk is completely solid, which is gross, in my opinion. I don't like them completely raw, but I don't like them completely, like, over fried either. They need to be at least a little bit runny. But I don't eat eggs anyway. I haven't eaten eggs in earnest in years because, like, I developed an allergy to them. But I remember I always liked scrambled. I would never, ew. So he orders that, and he says he wants his bacon fried, very crispy, almost black, and then he says, cremated. What is with this guy? What in the world is with this guy? He wants his eggs over hard, and he wants his bacon cremated. Like, who wants to eat burnt bacon? Oh no, you might as well just take go out in the backyard and open up the barbecue grill and get a little piece of charcoal out of there. Like, why even bother with the bacon if that's how you're going to eat it? But anyway, so he says, oh, that's his order. And then here comes Miss Thang over here, Audrey Horn, and she obviously has a crush on Dale Cooper. Who wouldn't? I mean, especially, like, a little spastic little teenage girl. Of course she's going to have a crush on him. My stars. So here she comes, and he also orders grapefruit juice, and just when he's saying the word grapefruits, she walks in, and of course, he's looking at her, and he likes what he sees. Of course, the grapefruits. He's talking about his juice, but it's a little double entendre where he's also talking about her physical form. I think you know what I mean. And she comes in, sits down. She introduces herself. They get to talking, and I think he asks her about Laura and whether or not they were friends. And she says no, they weren't really friends, but she did tutor her brother, the guy that you didn't see him because, like, my video also messed up with that one. Her brother is in his 20s and still in the 3rd grade. So he has some kind of developmental issue, disability, I don't know what, but he's, his reading level or his education level cannot get past the 3rd grade. And Laura, the angel, in her daytime life, she was an angel. She worked for Meals on Wheels. She was a great student. She was homecoming queen. And she tutored Audrey's brother, whose name I can't really recall at the moment. Is it something like John? Not sure. And in the pilot episode, Northwestern Passage, he was wearing a Native American headdress in his room and banging his head up against a dollhouse with furniture in it and everything, because he was used to Laura showing up, like, at the same time at the same place. I don't know if it was every day or whatever, and she didn't show up that day because that was the day that she was discovered dead. And something tells me, I don't know how you all are going to feel about this. If you're diehard Twin Peaks fans and you know the ins and outs of this show, and you've researched this and studied this in every conceivable direction, but something tells me that Laura really wasn't trying to teach Audrey's brother how to read, or she wasn't tutoring him for school or anything. Something tells me that Laura Palmer was doing something else. with that guy. And what makes me think this is because I think ultimately, if I'm not mistaken, yes, I've looked at the spoilers. Basically, Audrey's father, yes, he owns this hotel, but he also, I think, owns the brothel in this show where Laura is employed and doing what one does if one is employed in a brothel by a pimp. And maybe Audrey's father, Ben Horn, was sending Laura over to his adult son for something other than tutoring. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. But there's that. So she tells Agent Cooper about her brother and about Laura and about how everybody loved her and the whole thing. Audrey's an interesting character. She's a troublemaker when it comes to her father and messing up his business deals and everything. But in this exchange with Dale Cooper, like, it's obvious that she has a crush on him, yes, but she also has kind of, she's not stupid. You know, she does have some intellect that is present. Okay, but also there's like, she's a little weird too, because at the end of this exchange with Dale Cooper, she says, "Do you like my ring?" And he says, "Yes, it's very pretty." And then she says, do your palms ever itch?" And that's just an odd thing to say, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, I mean, to somebody you just met. Maybe the "do you like my ring" thing could be chalked up to her being like, you know, kind of a vain teenage girl. But the "do your palms ever itch" question, very, very strange. Like, that's just not something I would ask somebody I've never met before in my life, and I just right then and there met them. No. But itchy palms are superstitious. That's a superstition. So it depends on what culture you're from. Depending on which palm is itchy, you know, one of them, an itchy palm means that you're going to get money, or be awarded some money or whatever, or you're going to get paid in some way. You're going to get money that you weren't expecting. And if the other palm itches, that means you're going to lose money. So it depends on like what culture you're from. Some cultures say if your left palm itches, you're getting money, and other cultures say if your right palm itches, you're getting money. Or some people don't even worry about the palms. They say if your foot itches, you get money. I don't know, but that's just a weird thing to ask Agent Cooper the first time you meet him. Here's the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department. He's walking up to the Sheriff's Department. Interesting, nondescript, very boring looking building. And again, there's this boulder out front with I don't know whose picture etched or whatever you call it onto this metal plate in the center of it. Here we go with this. He walks in. Everybody's eating donuts. It's very early in the morning. More wood paneling on the inside of this sheriff's office. This guy is welding something, this metal framing thing, for whatever reason. He's on a ladder. Is that significant somehow? I don't know. Here's Andy, is he a deputy? I don't know, but one of the officers here in the sheriff's department, eating a donut, having a cup of coffee. I cannot make out what it says on that cup, but I bet it means something. Okay, moving on. There's Lucy. She's the secretary or receptionist or what have you at the sheriff's department, and all those pink boxes behind her. She's the one who does the spread of donuts every morning. More wood paneling. I told you we're never going to get rid of it. We're not going to get away from it. Don't even assume that that's what's going on. So here comes Dale Cooper. He sees Sheriff Truman, Harry S. Truman, and Dale starts talking about all of the stuff that he's been working on and thinking about and all the stuff they're going to do that day. And Sheriff Truman doesn't even have a chance to answer because his mouth is full of donut. Now, the donuts, are they significant in any way? Do they symbolize something in the context of this show? I would not be surprised if they did, because donuts, it's not just that they're sweet or that they're a dessert, it's the shape. It's the shape of the donuts. Most donuts, not all, but most donuts usually have a hole in the middle. Okay, so that's a ring. And that's a ring. So that represents kind of a loop of circling and cycling, something that repeats itself over and over and over again in just a cycle. Is that what the donuts symbolize? And of course I'm talking about donuts that do have a hole in the middle. Not talking about Boston cream donuts. Not talking about jelly donuts. Not talking about apple frittlers, as Tavin Dillard, the comedian on IG, would call them. I just told Gershom about him, and I think Dr. Luke too. Tavin Dillard. It's not an apple fritter. No, it's an apple frittler. Adorable. They happen to be some of my favorite donuts, apple frittlers. But never mind. I'm talking about like the donuts that, when you think of a donut, you think of something that's got a hole going through the middle. And does that represent some kind of perpetuity? I don't know. Here he is, still chewing on that donut, can't swallow it because it's probably nice and dry. Here's the photo. More wood paneling behind Dale Cooper. Check out the black and white photo of this man next to what looks like a freshly felled tree in the forest. This is a logging town. There's a sawmill. This, to me, is very reminiscent of all those black and white photos all over the Overlook Hotel, at least on the ground floor of whatever they're photographs of, black and white photos. Again, I think David Lynch and Stanley Kubrick are being inspired by each other. So that is my feeling regarding that. Moving on, Dale Cooper, chipper. Look at him, just so enthusiastic and ready to go. And like I said, a complete nerd. Like, when you meet people like this in real life, and they wake up while it's still dark, and they get up and they do their exercises, and they have their smoothie and their vitamins and all that shit, you just want to slap them. At least that's me. If any of you are like that, if any of you are that conscientious and that energetic at 4 o'clock in the morning, I just don't know what to say. I am not a morning person. Never have been, never will be. I'm working on it, but I'm failing miserably. But he's one of those people. Dale is one of those people. He's just enthusiastic all the time. I guess it takes that kind of person to be a good FBI agent, eh? So anyway, let's keep it moving. They got a lot to do. And he still hasn't said anything. He's just barely swallowed that donut. So here is the scene with the man who delivered Laura Palmer when her mother gave birth to her. The doctor, whose name I can't recall at this moment. So I'm not really, when I watch this show, I'm not listening too much for names or whatever. I've kind of got the basic relationships down. This is Donna's father, this doctor person. And Donna and Laura Palmer were best friends, and Donna's father was, I guess, Laura's. Again, he delivered her. I don't know if he was her pediatrician, but he seems like a genuinely good man. He seems like a kind, good-natured man, and he's really shook up, and he's really, really just disturbed by Laura Palmer's death and the way in which it happened, and he couldn't bring himself to do the autopsy. He got another doctor to do it. He, assisted, but he couldn't actually do the work of the autopsy and like cutting into her himself. That would have been too much for him emotionally. So he called somebody else in to do it. And he's got the autopsy results right there before him on the table. Here's Harry Truman, the sheriff, and here's the doctor. He's about to tell Agent Cooper and Sheriff Truman the results of this autopsy report, and they're listening, and it is disturbing, like the state of the body, what she probably went through when she died. She was tortured. She was she had intercourse with, I think the doctor says, like, is it 3 men on the night of her death, etc., and so on and so forth. The toxicology reports aren't back yet, so they don't know at this point whether or not she had any drugs in her system, but whatever. And Dale Cooper's listening to this. He himself seems to be disturbed by this, even though he's an FBI agent who's probably seen a great deal of horror in his investigations that he's done. Here they are again. I told you, this wood paneling everywhere. What are these things on this hutch or whatever this is back here? I don't know. We got a little American flag in the background. This sculpture, I would love to know what it is. This one too, but we don't get to see that here. So the doctor is reading off the disturbing stuff in the autopsy report, again, without the toxicology results. And Dale Cooper seems, again, just disturbed, shook by it, by what the doctor is saying. There he is, he keeps going, and he talks about it, and he says, who would do something like this? Who would do something to a young girl, young teenage girl like Laura? What kind of person would even think of doing what was done to her, the things that caused her death? And it is disturbing. Like I said, I do feel sorry for Laura as a victim of murder and a victim of her circumstances, but something tells me if she had lived, she would have basically ended up like, I don't know, maybe like Pete Martell's wife, Catherine Martell. And then there's that picture again of her when they found her, when Pete Martell found her that morning wrapped in the plastic, and I said she was bound, her from the waist down, the plastic was bound in tape, so that made her resemble, at least in that moment, like a mermaid a great deal because her legs were taped together. Here's something that says the Big Pussycat on it. My goodness. What the hell is this? Oh, this is Leo's truck, of course. And it's called the Big Pussycat. Really? So that's how Leo thinks of himself. This is Shelly's husband. She's a waitress at the Double R Diner. And this is her husband, Leo. He's back from, he's a trucker. And he's back, and he's very abusive towards her. And he's got a cigarette dangling. A lot of people in this town smoke, I gotta say. Is that, David Lynch has a history of being a very vocal proponent. He's not anti-smoking, he's a pro-smoking kind of person. So maybe that's why so many people in this town smoke. I don't know. But he says, Shelly, Leo says to Shelly, his wife, did you do all the stuff that you were supposed to do? And she says, yes, I did. And now I'm going to go to work at the diner. Norma, the owner of the diner, is going to pick me up in a little while. And he says, no, you're not. You're not done. And he throws her a bag of his dirty clothes to wash. And she says, I'll do it when I get back home. And he says, no, you're going to do it now. He's just a jerk. He's a complete jerk. Makes me wonder how these two ever got together. But whatever, there she goes. They keep the wash machine outside on this porch looking thing with this chest of drawers next to it. This is like, ooh, grimy, just freaking grimy. And she empties the clothes into the wash machine, and she looks surprised here because she finds a bloody shirt among his clothes. And instead of putting it in the wash, she knows something happened. She knows something bad happened because the shirt has all of the blood stains on it. So instead of washing it, she stows it away in a drawer, in one of those drawers in that chest of drawers, obviously with the intent of coming back to it later. So she says, okay, I put your laundry in the wash. And then he grabs her cheek and says, don't forget to save me a slice of cherry pie. And she says, okay, Leo. She's terrified of him. But this is the point in the show where I realize what cherry pie really means. Cherry pie means, women. Women, and specifically women in a sexual context. Kind of like that Warrant song from back in the day, Cherry Pie. And now, as we go through this show, I don't know if I'll ever be able to think of cherry pie the same way again. I don't know about y'all. Am I wrong about that? If you think I'm wrong about that, let me know. Go ahead and let me know. So, she's off to work, and here's Dale Cooper again, this time speaking to James, Laura's secret boyfriend. Remember, Bobby, the captain of the football team, that was her official boyfriend, and she was dating James on the side. Now I'm going to take a little quick coffee break of my own, and I will be right back, you guys. Hang on. And I'm back. Anyway, Dale Cooper and Harry Truman are interrogating James, and they're asking about this video where they saw his motorcycle reflected in Laura Palmer's eye. And he talks about, how his relationship with Laura was a secret. Nobody knew about it. And Dale Cooper asks James if he was doing coke with Laura. And he said no, he was trying to get her off of it. And then she did get off of it, but she started up again. And that's basically the gist of this scene. They're asking about the other half of that locket, and then James tells them the story of how Laura gave him that locket, and I'm trying to get to that point here. There he is asking about the locket, and he tells the story about how Laura gave him that locket, and she said something like, I'm so very happy today because I feel like you really love me. And this is the part that made me kind of look at Laura differently. This saccharine kind of thing coming from her, professing her love for James when, she already had a boyfriend, and she's leading the life that she's leading at night in secret. Something is up. Something is wrong with this. Why is she doing this? Why is she giving him this half of the heart locket? It's not making sense to me. What is going on with that locket? What does it symbolize? What's going on in this part of the show? Just very weird. Here's Leo again, losing his mind, looking for that bloody shirt. He can't find it because Shelly hid it. And he seems to kind of be able to figure out that Shelly probably hid it, which makes him an idiot, because if he knew that there was a bloody shirt in his laundry bag and he gave it to her to wash, he kind of should have expected her to find it and then do something with it when she found it. So anyway, back at in the jail, Bobby, the captain of the football team, and Laura's boyfriend, and his grimy friend, who's also Donna's boyfriend, they're talking about how they owe somebody $10,000, and Laura was the one who had that money, and she up and died on them. and I think she left her that money in the safety deposit box. So basically, it looks like Bobby is involved with the drug trade, and he's like a mule of some kind carrying these things over state lines. They're worried about what's going to happen to them if they don't deliver the money that they owe to whomever. I'm not sure at this point. I don't know. And here comes James from his questioning. And again, they kind of mad dog him and they act really, really violent, really vicious. Here's that video, the famous video of Laura at the picnic where they zoom in on her face. She looks happy. And when they zoom in on her face kind of gets really hard and cold looking, and there's a voiceover of Laura's voice, kind of blurry sounding, where she says, "Help me." This is supposed to be, again, one of the more well-known parts of this show and the moment of this show. Here's Donna walking downstairs. Her mother didn't wake her up, let her sleep in. She's supposed to go to the police station or the sheriff's office for questioning too, and Donna tells her mother how weird she feels, like this whole thing is just a weird dream, and she feels horrible about falling in love with Laura's secret boyfriend, even though Laura's dead, and she feels like she's betraying her friend and whatever. This part of the show is very weird. This reminds me, this whole exchange with Laura and James and the heart locket, and then with Donna and her mother, and her talking about, like, feeling bad about betraying her friend. This reminds me so much of like a show like Peyton Place. Is that what David Lynch is trying to recreate here? But a much more sordid version of like a Peyton Place, or one of those kind of, again, sweet, saccharine, kind of family-oriented shows from back in the day that, when you take a better look at them, when you really think about them, they're really mind-numbing. I don't know. But here's, again, Dale Cooper and Sheriff Truman at the sheriff's office. This man in the plaid shirt is James's uncle. He takes care of James. James's mother is kind of perpetually out of town, which is very suspicious. That makes it sound like she's up to no good too, but I don't know at this point. But they're releasing James, and Lucy is telling Dale Cooper that he has a phone call from somewhere, and James eventually, I don't know who he's talking to in this phone call. I don't recall. But he's talking about the amazing cherry pie in Twin Peaks, which, again, I told you. I told you what I think cherry pie really stands for, or really represents. Y'all let me know in the comments whether or not you think I'm right. But there's that. So again, I don't know who he's talking to on the phone. But here's, again, Norma, the owner of the Double R Diner. She's delivering food to somebody in the store, and she encounters James's uncle's wife, the lady with the eye patch, who's a little weird. She's obsessed with the curtains in the house, and she wants to make these curtains totally silent, so she's come up with a perfect solution: cotton balls. And James's uncle's wife kind of seems to know, even though she doesn't say it out loud, that Norma and James's uncle are having an affair. So that's why she's kind of weird and catty towards Norma. Very, very odd woman. Very odd character, the whole thing. Here it is, James has been released from his jail cell, and he says to his uncle that he's going to need help staying safe, possibly from the Bookhouse Boys. Now, the Bookhouse Boys, yes, I've read as much as I could read about this show in preparation for doing these videos. And the Bookhouse Boys, I won't tell you who they are yet, but they seem to be like this group of men in Twin Peaks that, I don't know if I would call them a secret society, but they kind of function in that way. But they seem to be a positive secret society, and James is asking his uncle for their help. I don't know if the uncle is a member of this society, the Bookhouse Boys, but it looks like I don't know if you could call them vigilantes or something along those lines, but they're sort of a group that tries to protect people from whatever evil it is that lurks in this idyllic looking, seeming town. Here's Dale Cooper to release Bobby and his friend, Donna's boyfriend, and he tells them, to be on their best behavior because if something happens to James, he's going to come looking for them. So there's that. Here's Pete Martell cleaning some fish. Here's Jocelyn Packard, who is having an affair with Sheriff Harry S. Truman. Anyway, here she comes. And here's Pete Martell. He's cleaning fish. This is the same guy, Jack Nance, who played Henry Spencer in Eraserhead. Again, look at this kitchen. Look at all the wood paneling. Very weird. Very, very, very weird. So, Dale Cooper and Sheriff Truman are here to question Jocelyn Packard, and it's amazing how quickly she changes from this dressing gown into this red dress. Why is the dress red? I can only speculate, but again, red seems to be like a theme, or a repeated color, both in The Shining and in Twin Peaks. Does it mean the same thing? Is it blood? I think it is. I think Jocelyn Packard does have blood on her hands. Her husband's death was very mysterious. Her husband was Catherine Martell's brother, Catherine Martell is Pete's wife, the one played by Piper Laurie, who also played Carrie's mother in the movie Carrie. But anyway, they're here to question her because Laura's body was found so close to this house or the sawmill or whatever it is. She doesn't really have any concrete answers for them. And when again, look at this duck on the table. What is up with the ducks? What is up with the ducks in this show? Are a lot of these people, are a lot of these characters sitting ducks? That's kind of the only thing I can think of. I don't know. What do you all think? All the wood paneling, all the logs, all of the trees, and these freaking ducks that I keep seeing over and over again. At least in this episode, they mean something. Is Dale Cooper a sitting duck? Is Harry Truman a sitting duck? Is Jocelyn Packard a sitting duck? Is Pete Martell a sitting duck? I don't know. But it's something to think about. So Pete Martell made them coffee. Again, I don't know how he did that so quickly. But he jumps in. Jocelyn gets a phone call, and Pete Martell rushes in to tell Agent Cooper and Sheriff Truman to not drink the coffee because he made it in a pot where, for some reason, there was a fish in the coffee pot that he used to make the coffee. Very weird. Very, very, very weird. I don't quite know what to make of it, but they're all obviously disgusted by the idea of their coffee being made in a pot where there was a dead raw fish. Who wouldn't be? But, there's that. So the phone call that Jocelyn gets is from Catherine Martell, and she's calling Jocelyn to basically chastise her for closing the sawmill on the day when Laura Palmer's body was found. Where she is, one can only speculate, but as you can see, there is more wood paneling on the wall. The headboard of the bed, again made of wood. The nightstand, very obviously made of wood. You can see the wood grain. This lamp on the nightstand, more wood. I don't know what these little hook things are on this lamp. They're weird. This room is a little different. There's wallpaper, and it's a floral pattern. I don't know what to think. And there's a glass of wine on the nightstand next to her. So, make of that what you will. Here she is. She's trying to intimidate Jocelyn, scare her, because Jocelyn is essentially the owner of the sawmill now that her husband, Catherine's brother, is now dead, and I think the husband had either full ownership or a major stake or major share in the sawmill. So that's why Catherine is basically trying to scare her into submission. I don't know. There's that fish that was in the coffee pot. Who the hell puts a fish in a coffee pot? But something about this coffee, this obsession with coffee in this show. The Dale Cooper character is completely obsessed with coffee, and so is David Lynch in real life. I think it's his favorite thing. I mean, one of his favorite things in the world: coffee and cigarettes. So, but the coffee, the fish being in the coffee pot is just really, really weird. And he's cleaning the coffee pot. Obviously, it's an old-timey kind of percolator pot. And here he is cleaning it. And then again, the sheriff and Dale Cooper are done, at least for the time being, with Jocelyn Packard. And here is Catherine Martell in, I think, a room at the Great Northern Hotel. In bed. Obviously, she's been messing around with this guy who is, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I think this is the owner of the Great Northern Hotel, and also Audrey's father, Ben Horn. And he's just like a complete sleazeball. A complete sleazeball. And here's Catherine Martell in this bed with these blue sheets. And she's wrapped up in the sheets. Obviously, she's nude underneath those sheets. But why? I mean, I know they've been messing around in this bed, but like, why is she wrapped up in this sheet this way? This is very reminiscent. Her wrapped up in this sheet is very, very reminiscent of how Laura Palmer's body was found on the bank of that river, wrapped in the plastic. If you recall that image of her body, it was like totally wrapped in that plastic. And Catherine Martell, here she's also wrapped not in plastic, but in a bed sheet. Laura Palmer's body was wrapped in a plastic sheet. To me, it looks like there's a connection. Or David Lynch is trying to draw our eye to see some kind of connection between Catherine Martell and Laura Palmer. Like I said, if Laura Palmer had lived, if she hadn't been murdered, would she have grown up to be more or less like Catherine Martell? And what kind of person is Catherine Martell? Pretty obviously and pretty quickly you can see that Catherine Martell is not a nice person. She's cunning, she's shrewd, she's selfish, self-centered, egotistical, ruthless. She doesn't really care who she has to hurt or who she has to use in order to achieve her objective. Really, really just a detestable character. Piper Laurie seems to be very good at playing those kinds of characters. First, as Carrie's like whack job of a mom in the movie Carrie, and now this person, Catherine Martell, just absolutely detestable person in this, Twin Peaks kind of universe. again, would Laura Palmer have grown up to be like her if she had lived? I think possibly yes, because, she's got that horrible father, she's got that useless mother, she's got, all of these negative influences in her life. And even if she does have a good nature or a good soul, those influences would have taken over eventually, and they would have turned her into like one of these negative female characters, like a Catherine Martell, who, again, will stop at nothing to gain the power and control that she believes is rightfully hers, for whatever reason. And there's Ben Horn, and they've been having an affair for quite some time, obviously. And again, with the wood paneling, again, with what looks like an armoire in the background, again, made of wood, and very obviously made of wood. You can see the wood grain. Really, really weird. And they're not just having wine. Oh no, they're having champagne. And this dresser with this mirror has these weird things on it. Are these coffee cups? Like, I don't know what's going on here, but that's what's there. And again, with this kind of floral pattern wallpaper. Really weird. So Ben Horn is telling her about a business deal that he wants her to be a part of. It seems like he's kind of taking advantage of her in his own right and taking advantage of their relationship. Oh, this is just too much. But whatever. They're going to get back into it. Okay, moving on. So here is Laura Palmer's house. Take a good look at this house, you guys. Please take a good look at this house. This obviously the front door and the porch. It's got 2 floors. But look at it carefully. Take this opportunity to look at the house carefully. Does it remind you of anything? It reminds me of something. And I'll go ahead and tell you what that is. It reminds me of the house from the Amityville horror movie, and like the actual real life Amityville like story that I read about when I was younger. I was really into ghost stories and stuff like that, so I know all about the Amityville horror, the movie, and what like the story it's based on. If you take a good look at this house, look at the side view of this house. Looks almost exactly, or just very, very reminiscent of the Amityville horror house. David Lynch made this choice consciously. He's trying to draw a parallel between the Amityville house and the house that Laura Palmer was living in with her parents. Very, very, very interesting. So anyway, here's the mother, Sarah. And I think this room is like a living room kind of thing, or a sitting room or whatever, and you see Laura's homecoming portrait in the background here. You got some dry flowers in this vase. Very odd. These curtains, again, very cutesy kind of curtains. This house is beautifully furnished. Laura Palmer's father is the lawyer to all of the kind of movers and shakers in this community, so that comes with money. What the hell is going on with the decor in this house? She's sitting on this kind of 2-seater kind of couch, and there's a screen behind them. I don't know what's behind the screen, but it's there. And there's an exercise bike in the background, like an old looking exercise bike. Yeah, this movie is, or not this movie, this TV show is like about 33 years old. And here she is, she's still distraught over her daughter's death. She can't function really anymore. And her husband is not really helping very much. He's not taking it nearly as bad as she is, which, like I said, I think David Lynch put the spoiler here if you've got eyes to see, here comes Donna. She's visiting her dead friend's mother, and she comes in, and really, really, really odd. Just really, this father is really odd. The mom is odd, but like at least she seems to be genuinely experiencing grief, and so does Donna. Donna and the mother, and the doctor, the one who delivered her when she was born. Um, they're the ones who seem to really, truly be taking this seriously. And the doctor, who delivered her is Donna's father. So, oof, really, really, really odd. So Laura's mother, she's just not okay, and who would expect her to be? But she's talking with Donna, and she sees Laura's face, or Donna's face morph into Laura's face, and she grabs her, and she starts saying, my baby, my baby, my baby. We'll come to that in a second. Oh, shit. So while she's hugging Donna and saying, my baby, my baby, my baby, then she has this vision. And this is the same thing she saw at the very tail end of the pilot episode. This individual, this face. This is, what the character or the entity that comes to later be known in the show as Bob. She sees him crouching at the foot of Laura's bed. I think this is Laura's bed, if I'm not mistaken. And he doesn't seem to be menacing, or he doesn't look scary or dangerous in this shot. But why in the world? Why in the world would he be crouching at the foot of this bed? This doesn't make sense. So like this vision that Laura's mom has, she sees it. It's not really in the room with them. It's a vision that she has, or some kind of flashback or whatever, and she starts screaming and screaming and screaming, and she won't stop screaming. Very odd. So here's Ronette Pulaski in the hospital. She's still like not responsive, and here are her parents. And nobody really seems to care about Ronette. Again, look at the red. The wall is like an orange color, but this, I don't know what this is over to the left. It's that blood red color. And there's like a couple of different bags here hanging over Ronette's body, filled with red liquid. I don't know what that is, but there it is. And these are Ronette's parents. Obviously, they're very working class. Ronette's father works at the sawmill. And they seem to be having a tough time. Ronette didn't die, but obviously something very bad happened to her. And like I said, nobody seems to care about Ronette. Probably because she's working class. Probably because her father is just an ordinary working Joe. He works at the sawmill. Everybody's just distraught over Laura, Laura, Laura. And that's partially because Laura's, like, dead, and Ronette isn't dead. But whatever happened to Laura, very nearly happened to Ronette because they were together that night. But nobody's, like, rallying around Ronette's parents the way they are around the Palmer family and the whole thing. So this is kind of weird. Again, her parents seem like just ordinary working class people. Now, this guy shows up and goes into this hallway, and Sheriff Thomas Hawk follows him. I'm not sure. I think this guy is, I don't know who this is. Is it Laura's psychiatrist, or who, I'm not exactly sure, but Deputy Hawk, yes, Tomahawk, um, follows him down the hallway, and this guy goes into this area where they both keep the oxygen, and that is also the morgue in this hospital. Really, really, really weird. And he disappears down the hallway, and, Sheriff Hawk doesn't follow him all the way in, but he realizes that something is odd about this person's behavior, so that he goes and follows him, but not completely all the way in there to see where he's really going and what he's really up to. Anyway, here's Audrey, and she's like tranced out to some kind of music, more wood paneling. Here's her father. He switches off the music, and he starts kind of scolding her for scaring off the Norwegians with her proclamation that she's so sad about her friend Laura's death. She and Laura were not friends, but whatever. Here's her dad. He's wearing this red tie with black spots on it, and he's got a red handkerchief in his breast pocket of his jacket. What's up with that? What's up with the red? And not just the red, but what's up with these black spots? Is that telling us about this man's character, that there's black spots on his character, that, his character is soiled and stained and dirty? I don't know. But he's kind of really upset with Audrey for messing up his business deal with the Norwegians. And he says something really odd to her, that if she doesn't, if her behavior doesn't improve, he'll send her to a convent somewhere in, I don't know where, God knows where, like Switzerland or something like that, where she'll be cleaning the bidets for the nuns. And I'm like, what an odd thing to say to a young teenage girl. Like, that's supposed to scare her. And she doesn't believe him. She thinks she's just like full of hot air. And I haven't seen a radiator yet. Y'all let me know if you see one. But again, he's, she knows that he's not going to make good on his threat. So, there's that. That's the exchange between them. Audrey's father is a jerk. And he's maybe not abusive, but obviously he's up to no good. He's up to no good. He's doing dirty dealings of all kinds in this town. It's very odd. This is Bobby's father, the Air Force captain. And Bobby is, the captain of the football team, Laura's, official or public boyfriend. And I told you this guy looks a little bit too much like L. Ron Hubbard to me. And my question is, why is he wearing his uniform in the privacy of his own home at the dinner table? They're having dinner. Bobby isn't really interested in hearing whatever his father has to say. This guy, the father, just talks and talks and talks about how he understands that young men are rebellious, and he respects that rebellious nature, but as the father, he has to also do what he has to do to counter it. And Bobby, again, is fed up with it. I guess he really thinks he's quite the big shot. And he's sick and tired of his father's lecture. So he gets a cigarette, and he lights it in front of his military father right at the dinner table. Well, the father, as tolerant as he is of his son's rebellious nature, he slaps the living beans out of him, and the cigarette goes flying across the table and lands on his mother's dinner plate. And this is the same lady who played Mary X in the movie Eraserhead. She played Henry Spencer's girlfriend, and I guess then wife. I guess they get married because Mary's pregnant. But here she is. She's got a cross around her neck. She's got this very unnerving hairdo. I don't know what to make of this hairdo, but It's not ugly or anything. It's just odd. It's an odd hairdo. So anyway, he smacks the cigarette out of his son's mouth, and is very abrupt. You don't expect it to happen. And the cigarette lands in the mom's meatloaf, which looks gross. It looks very dry and tasteless, but whatever. And I don't know what she says at this point in the episode, but this is kind of a funny scene. Bobby thinks a little too highly of himself, and his father slaps him, like slaps. It's loud when you watch the episode. It'll be very, very loud. Why? I don't know why. I don't know, like, why him smoking a cigarette, or the father sees it for what it is. It's an insult, but like that reaction is really, really interesting. Here's Shelly. Here's the Double R Diner. Here's a very red-looking ashtray. Here's more wood paneling. Good God, what is up with the wood paneling? I mean, I know that wood paneling is like kind of a remnant of the 70s, and this show was made in the late 1980s, like 1989. But still, wood paneling was on its way out during this time in American history. But I think it has to do with the symbolism, whatever it is that David Lynch is trying to say by showing us this much wood paneling in this show. Anyway, so they order the cherry pie. There's the log lady. Dale Cooper doesn't quite know what to make of her yet. They get served some coffee, and Shelly is going to bring them, again, that cherry pie. And the log lady says, that in this scene, she says that her log will have something to say about whatever's, going on in this town with regard to Laura's death. But anyway, this is the part with the cherry pie. And Dale Cooper loves the cherry pie. And he orders 2 more slices right away. And Harry Truman says, "You must have the metabolism of a horse." I think that's what he says. And 3 pieces of cherry pie. Wow. Anyway, so they shake hands. This is Norma, the lady who owns the Double R Diner. I don't know why it's named the Double R Diner. What does Double R stand for? Is it railroad? I really don't know. I really don't know, but it's interesting. And these ladies who work here, Norma the owner and Shelly the waitress, they're wearing these very old-timey, like 1950s or 60s or even 70s looking waitress dresses, which is odd. Again, and Norma's wearing a sweater above her uniform, and it happens to be a red sweater. Again, Norma is carrying on with James's uncle, so there's that. They're eating the pie, drinking the coffee. Like I said, here comes the log lady, and she says, "Would you like to ask my log anything?" And Dale Cooper doesn't, and the log lady is a little bit offended, and she says, you will ask one day." And she goes off, she leaves in a huff. The log, though, again, we keep seeing way too much wood paneling, way too much obviously wooden furniture, and whatever. And here comes this lady who just carries a log with her wherever she goes. What in the world is going on? What does wood mean in this show whenever we see it? Whether it's furniture, the paneling, actual trees, whatever. What does wood symbolize in this show? I don't know at this point. I really, really don't know. Anyway, here's Leo cutting open a football. I can only imagine what he's hiding in there. I think you know what it is that I'm suspecting. He hears Shelly pull up from work, and he puts a bar of soap in a sock with the intention of beating her. Okay? He's a demon. He's a terrible person. So she comes in, And she says, I got you. I saved you a piece of cherry pie. At this point, he is not at all concerned about the cherry pie. He wants to know where his shirt is. And she says she doesn't know. He doesn't believe her. He backs her into a corner in this unfinished part of the house and starts wailing on her with that soap in the sock. Very similar to what happens in Full Metal Jacket with the Gomer Pyle character at night when they beat him in the same way. Except they wrap the soap, the bars of soap, in a towel to beat him while he's sleeping. We're almost done. Here comes Donna walking downstairs. She's invited James to her home to meet her parents, to have him over for dinner. And this, again, is to me at least somewhat reminiscent of Mary X inviting Henry Spencer to her home to have dinner with her parents in the movie Eraserhead. So Donna's parents are obviously not weird like Mary X's parents are, but there is a tension here. There is a tension. I don't know if the dad is completely on board with her dating James, but they seem to tolerate it. These parents in this show, they just let their kids do whatever. They let them go out at night. They don't care where they are. All of the kids smoke. They get into all kinds of trouble, and the parents don't seem to be like really strict or like even punish the kids for acting out. It's awfully weird. Anyway, so there they are. She's having him over for dinner. They sit down at the dinner table. It's not nearly as creepy as the dinner in Eraserhead with Mary X's parents and those creepy little chickens and everything, and the grandmother in the kitchen tossing the salad, or somebody grabbing her hands and having her toss the salad. It's just weird. It's just so weird. Here's Donna. She sits down with him. Again, this table, very, very obviously wooden. I gotta figure this out. I gotta think about this. I know it'll come to me. Eventually I'll have some kind of epiphany about the use of wood as a symbol in this show, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there. And this fruit on the table. What is up with this fruit? Is it real? Is it wax fruit? I mean, I see pears, but I also see this orange thing, but it doesn't really look like an orange. It looks more like a little mini pumpkin. I don't know. But they're talking about how they love each other and how they're happy to be together. And yeah, it's a pumpkin. It's not an orange. This is an orange, but this is a pumpkin. Very odd. Very odd. So that tells us that, are we in fall? Is this fall in Twin Peaks, or is it the springtime? I don't know. Oh no, it's February. What am I saying? So, oh Lord, why is there a pumpkin on this fruit plate in February? I don't know, but weird. Very weird. So anyway, they're and here's Bobby and Donna's boyfriend waiting outside the house. It looks like they want to kill James. I don't know why they want to kill James. Is he just angry that Laura was cheating on him with James, or what? I'm not sure. Because, Laura's dead. And he didn't really love her. He was having an affair with Shelly. Bobby, that is. So I don't know why they're so angry at James. And this is the conclusion of the show. So the guy that Deputy Tommy Hawk followed down the hallway, I don't think that was the psychiatrist. This is the psychiatrist, and he seems to be obsessed with Hawaiian culture or Pacific Islander culture. He's got this Hawaiian shirt on. You're about to see plenty of like Hawaiian type paraphernalia around the house, these masks, stuff like that. So Laura would kind of just talk into a recording device and sent him her tapes so he can listen to them. And he seems shook up by Laura's death too. Look at all of the like tiki culture stuff all over this guy's place, and he's listening to this tape. He's gonna put his headphones on, and he's got this coconut in his hand, and this coconut is where he keeps the other half of that locket that Laura gave to James. I think, that tells you that he's the one who got it where they buried it. He was there in the woods and saw Donna and James bury the locket, and he went and he found it. And now he's listening to her tape, and all she talks about is how bored she is. She's so very, very bored. Okay. And he listens to that tape while looking at the locket, or the half-heart locket that Laura gave him. This guy is really weird. He's really, really weird. Just like Dale Cooper said in the first episode, he's supposed to be a psychiatrist. I guess so. I guess so. And that's the conclusion of episode 2 of season 1 of Twin Peaks. Very weird. We're still getting to know these people, these characters, to see what they're about and like what's really going on in this crazy town. Don't know quite what to think yet. I'm kind of stuck on figuring out what wood symbolizes in this town. I was talking with Gershom about another movie that prominently features wood, specifically pine wood. Is it the same thing as that movie? I don't know. I have to think about it. That locket is weird. Laura's behavior is weird. Her mother's behavior isn't so weird, but it's disturbing. Even Dale Cooper, he seems to be dealing with something that he doesn't quite understand. He's obviously a very good FBI agent, but I don't know if he's ever encountered a place quite like Twin Peaks. We shall see. We shall see how this show develops. What's going on? I've talked long enough. If I think of anything else, I'll put it in the next video for this series. And of course, I can't wait to hear, or rather read, what you all put down in the comments. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have observations of your own regarding this show or this episode, the symbolism, the story, what you think is really going on, who really killed Laura Palmer, what's going on, what in the world is going on, what is David Lynch trying to tell us about the world, about existence, about the way things work. So that's it for now. With all that being said, once again, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time, until I find yet another reason to talk at you in one of these videos, I'm going to go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.